Roth here of RotoGrinders, and today we're going to talk about the RG Discord. If you're not a member, you should be. It is a fantastic community and resource that RotoGrinders provides, and it's easy to join as well. All you have to do is click the Discord icon on RotoGrinders or go to rotogrinders.com/Discord. From there, you'll either sign up if you're new to RG, or if you're already a member, just click the link at the top to go to the sign-in page. Once you've logged into your RG account, you can be taken to Discord to log in there. Once you've connected those accounts, you won't have to leave the server. You can freely close out and reopen Discord without ever having to reconnect. The idea of Discord might be a little bit daunting to you, but it's actually pretty simple to navigate. Whether you're on mobile or desktop, the far left side will show you the Discord servers that you've already joined. Then next to that, you'll see the channels within that Discord. We have both free channels like Chiefs Prop Shop and our daily sport channels. And we also have premium channels like Blender's Game Theory or the Crunch Time channels. Premium members can see the difference between the free and premium channels by looking for a padlock icon next to the premium channel names. We also have a few pointers for new and experienced users alike. If you're having trouble finding a channel, make sure that you haven't collapsed the section that the channel is in. Collapsing a channel will only allow it to appear when there are unread messages in that channel. Also, we find that using the actual Discord program works better than opening it in a browser like Safari or Chrome. Lastly, if you're having trouble with one of our tools, your RotoGrinders account, or any other technical needs, you can hop in our feedback and help section of channels to get help from one of our wonderful support and moderation team members. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter @RotoGrinders or email support@rotogrinders.com. See you in Discord.
What is up, everyone? Happy Sunday. Welcome to Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you. Shaking off the rust a little bit here. I'm Justin Van Zuden, aka STL Cardinals 84. First show back after a week off. Went down to St. Louis for a week, did a few activities with the kids, saw the Cardinals win a couple games, so it was a good time away. And we're back to the DFS grind here today. So happy to be with you, breaking down a Sunday MLB slate alongside Mr. Andre Alford. Andre, what's going on today for you?
Not much here. Just enjoying this nice weather that we have here, and getting some good bets in, and getting some, hopefully making some good lines for me to win and everyone else to win some money tonight.
That's right. Yeah, it was about 65 degrees here yesterday in Illinois when we came back, and it's pretty close to 90 today. Went for a little walk before the show, and didn't realize it was so hot and humid. So I'm still got a little sweat from my walk about a half an hour ago. So the summer weather is coming for sure. I know down in St. Louis today, they've got their first ever NASCAR race down in St. Louis. So Stevie will have you covered on the NASCAR front. If you're into that, we'll have you covered at scoresandodds.com for all things sports betting related. I know Andre was putting some picks in over there before the show started, so check out scoresandodds.com. If you're interested, of course, you can always check out FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, FanDuel, a great sponsor of our show here. They've got a promo going on now for new users. Bet $5, get $200 in free bets, regardless if your bet wins or loses. So terms and conditions apply on that, but you can check out the FanDuel Sportsbook. I know we've got game 2 of the NBA Finals tonight as well. And what do you think before we dig into the baseball here? Do the Warriors get that home win tonight to even that series up?
Yeah, I think they actually do get that win today to even up the series. Is actually the bet I'm actually typing and writing about right now as we speak. So I think that they're going to pull it out today. It's kind of honestly going the way I expected it to go. Warriors typically trend to always play not that well on game ones from just history of knowing them and watching them play throughout the years. So I just get back on track and take it a little bit more seriously and get ready to get back to winning the next 2.
certainly a big game for them tonight. So we'll be watching that later. But before we get through that, we've got a pretty interesting slate of MLB games today. We've got 11 games on the Fanduel slate. So Fanduel is offering us the Seattle, Texas game and the Atlanta, Colorado game. Those two games are not on the DraftKings slate if you're playing over there. And I'm not sure what happened. I go away for a week. Matt Carpenter is great again. He's got like 4 home runs for the Yankees. And we've had 2 games the last 2 nights in Coors Field that have been 0-0 and 1-1 after 9 innings. So that's the beauty of baseball. The Astros got shut out by Kansas City yesterday. I mean, sometimes that's part of what makes this sport fun and frustrating at the same time, but should be an interesting slate here today as well. And we've got a big one. So we'll go ahead and start by breaking down the pitchers on the slate today. And I've got the screen share up right now, sorted by projected ownership, and it looks pretty spread out across the field today with maybe a few guys at the top with a little bit more ownership, but should be a day where, you can pretty much play who you want at pitcher without worrying a ton about ownership. So who are you looking at as your top options on the mound today?
Kevin Gausman by far to me is the top and best option today. It's someone that I want to be like over on if I can. Just the matchup against Minnesota is just so good, and then without Buxton in that lineup, it's someone I cannot overlook today. And I also do like Lucas Giolito today against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has not been as good as they were in the past, and last year I should say. And to me, Giolito's strikeout ability and his upside that he presents in this matchup against the Tampa Bay lineup, that's having a strikeout percentage this year of about 24% on average is not good. So I look forward to having him in my lineups too, but I feel like I'm going to be a little bit under on him compared to another guy that I do kind of like as a resurgent guy who's cheap still, who's pitching a lot better this year compared to last year, and that is Luis Castillo. He got off to a bad start the first 3 games, I know, but the last 2 games shows that I don't know if he's just maybe rounding into form and getting back to his old form, but he's been pitching well, and against a Washington team, I know that is that does have a lot of good bats in it that hit well, but they do have the potential to have a high strikeout game there. So there's someone I like to target a lot to and get a little bit of Castillo as well. Those are like my top 3.
All right. And I believe you may have been on last night as well. A couple of people in the YouTube chat thanking you for the Mets calls last night. So guys must have been on the Mets a little bit. And Walker Buehler has not looked the same for the Dodgers. So if it was you that gave the Mets calls last night, you're getting some props from that in the YouTube chat.
Oh, shout out to Chief. It was Chief mainly on them, and Chief got me on them. So we give a special thank you to Chief for that one.
You guys can share the wealth. Share the wealth for everybody. It certainly wasn't me. This is my first show in a week, so we appreciate anybody who was watching last night and won from those calls. But the Mets teed off on Buehler a little bit. So I like those pitchers at the top as well. I think those guys are clearly the top 3. I put Giolito and Gausman in the premium content article on RotoGrinders today as my 1A and 1B. Really, you can mix and match them however you want. I do have Giolito maybe slightly above. With the strikeouts in that Tampa Bay lineup. They're 5th in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year. So a 1A and 1B scenario, but certainly like them both. I think you can pair them up in some GPP lineups if you're playing on Yahoo or you're playing on DraftKings where you play 2 pitchers. If you're saving with the bats, you can maybe try to get both of them and Castillo if you're going a little bit cheaper. Zach Gallen he doesn't get as many strikeouts as Giolito or Gausman, but he gets to face the Pirates today. So I think that maybe puts him on the list. Nobody's playing Eric Lauer. He's shown a bunch of strikeout ability this year. He's playing against a San Diego lineup that has struggled. So I don't mind sprinkling him in some GPPs, but otherwise be a relatively narrow pool, maybe 5 or 6 pitchers. Maybe you can throw Kyle Gibson in there as well against a Angels team that has really struggled. I think they've lost maybe 8 or 9 in a row now. Don't hate that play, but Giolito, Gausman, Castillo for sure, the top 3 for me. Anybody else you would consider in a tournament lineup?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at Plesac a little bit on DK just because his price is $5K. And they're going against Baltimore. Baltimore, I know, has been hitting a little bit better lately, but I still think Plesac can can be effective here and be useful at a salary, to give you some salary relief if you need it today. So he's another option I would just look at. But many of the guys you name, I would be sticking to a lot of them. I love getting a little bit also Kyle Gibson as well, and probably over, maybe a little bit over on him.
All right, yeah, that's pretty much narrows down the pitching pool. I think Framber Valdez a little too expensive for me. Doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. Sandoval the same way. Just don't see the potential in those guys. George Kirby potentially in a tournament on FanDuel where he's available. He hasn't. He's got like 28, 29% strikeout rate and a 3% walk rate. So he's been as advertised as one of the better pitching prospects in the game. But he's absolutely not a necessity on the slate. Maybe somebody you sprinkle in some FanDuel GPPs. All right, let's go ahead and move to the bats. We usually talk about stacks first, and then we'll dig into the position. So just in general, who are some of the offenses you like today?
Well, I guess since we have two totally different slates here, I was trying to figure out what my approach should be today, more so on these sites, but like FanDuel, I know including the Coors game. So I know people are going to be high on that Atlanta game and Atlanta side of the ball, but I'm letting side of the game. But I'm going to be probably fading it a little bit again, just because it's been 2 nights in a row, and more times than not, it's going to probably not go off. And I know we're going against Feltner here, so maybe I'll have a little bit exposure to him, but I want a lot of Houston today. Houston's like my top team overall, a team that I like. I love the matchup, the hitting weather, the environment, everything about it just speaks to me. So he's someone. So Houston as a whole is a team. I was like my number one team I want to get to today, and then from there I like getting to a team like Cleveland today against Kramer. I think they're a great option too. And then I do also like a little bit of I have the Cincinnati Reds. Sorry about that. I have the Cincinnati Reds as another team that I like today a lot of, and I don't even mind Baltimore on the opposite side and Washington.
Yeah, Cincinnati going up against Patrick Corbin, who somehow still has a gig as a major league starter. Not really sure at this point when Washington might pull the plug on that experiment. He's been one of the worst pitchers in the league over the last couple of years. So you see Cincinnati with a 5.8 run implied team total. And then you get the potential bounce back spots. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, Houston got shut out yesterday by Chris Bubich and Kansas City. I mean, just hard to believe that his ERA was like 12 coming into the day, and they shut them out. Atlanta and Colorado, 2 total runs in the 9 innings of the last 2 days before some, extra inning runs. But certainly a spot where you got to expect bounce backs for some of those teams. Houston in a great spot, Atlanta in a great spot. Of course, that game not available on DraftKings. But I do like, if you look at lower cost offenses like Cleveland against Kramer, like outside of Jose Ramirez, that whole lineup is fairly affordable. Baltimore against Plesac, who doesn't strike out a lot of guys. That entire lineup is 3.3K or less on FanDuel. So you can get some bats from those 2 teams and then also get top end pitching or additional strong one-off bats around them to kind of fill out your lineups and kind of enhance that stack a little bit if you go for a cheaper offense to be able to afford better hitters in the rest of your lineup and top end pitching. So I like that approach as well. All right, let's talk about catcher here quick. Again, you don't have to roster one on FanDuel. I did bring up DraftKings as well, where we see that Varsho and Stevenson are taking up a really large chunk of ownership at the position today. Catcher is obviously fairly weak in terms of depth. So what are you looking at as far as catcher exposure?
Yeah, obviously Varsho and Stevenson are the good options, the ones that I love to get to a lot today of. I like also Alejandro Kirk from Toronto. That's another team that I do like a lot too. Even with the news of Vlad Guerrero going on the IR, I think that they offer could be very sneaky in tournaments today too. Still going against Smelter, so I would probably definitely play them for sure. So Kirk is someone I do like I mentioned before. Russman. Sorry, that's another guy I like from Baltimore. He's not getting any ownership on FanDuel here at 1%. Someone I think that should probably be a little bit owned, so a little bit more on what he is. Even on DK2 at 4% if you're running a Baltimore stack or having a one-off, because I think he has some power in him. And I do also like taking some shots against Valdez and go with like Salvador Perez a little bit. Not going to really be overweight on that take, but just have a little bit of him just to see, if we can get a one-off on that's low on to hit a home run or two.
All right, you made my heart drop out of my chest for a second because I heard you say about Vladdy going on the IL. I'm like, I got a lot of exposure to him today. There's Vladimir Gutierrez, pitcher for the Reds, that went on the IL this morning.
Sorry.
So
I read that wrong. I thought it was Guerrero because I honestly changed my picks today or extra series. I thought it was Guerrero at first. I looked at it too fast and oh my gosh.
It was a Vladimir G. So there's not a whole lot of those in the league, but Vladimir Gutierrez for the Reds is on the IL. Vladimir Guerrero, as far as I know, still in the lineup for Toronto this afternoon. So
I think I should have made a couple of adjustments to my bets now. So hey, anyone looking at has scores and odds, add Vladimir Guerrero to your home run to win a parlays with the bet.
I like him as a home run pick today. I kind of like Toronto in general as well, as you were alluding to there with Kirk. And that brings us to first base, where we've got Vladdy at just 5% ownership on FanDuel today. I think that's really intriguing. Of course, you got lots of options at the position. Matt Olson on FanDuel, where the Braves game is available, taking up a good chunk of ownership here. So who are you looking at first base?
Obviously, the two top guys you list over there. Joey Votto is someone else I'm going to be high on. I even like getting some of these Colorado bats. So a guy like Connor Joe, I don't mind taking a shot on for sure. Trey Mancini and Ryan Mountcastle as well. And I really do. I like Washington today a little bit against Castillo just because of the ownership wise and playing the ownership game a little bit. So I think he's going to be fairly popular. So a guy like Josh Bell, I think is warranted to play him too. Jared Walsh is another one I do like as a one-off to hit a home run against Gibson today too as well. So I think first base has a lot of good options today. Owen Miller, Yuli Gurriel, who's actually one of my favorite hitters on the slate too as well. It's loaded to me at first base, and I would probably mix it with some one-offs and some guys you're going to run the stacks, having your stacks.
All right, I like those calls as well. A really interesting position where you can get some low-owned guys with upside. Like, all right, we've got Guerrero at 5%. We've got Mancini at 4%. Even some guys with power like Christian Walker at 2%. Like, you can certainly sprinkle those guys into your GPP mix today and feel pretty okay about it. Votto won't get as much ownership in the lefty-lefty matchup, but the Reds in that aforementioned strong matchup against Patrick Corbin today, certainly don't mind playing him as well. So that's why you're going to see ownership a little spread out at first base. All right, let's go ahead and move over to second base. Who are you looking at over there?
Obviously, if you want to go with this game with the Atlanta games, Ozzy Albies is fine, but I like going with guys like Jose Altuve, Brandon Drury, Ketel Marte. Those are like the top three guys I'm looking at more so, followed by Albies after that one. I mentioned Owen Miller before because you can move over to second base as well. I don't mind that call out on that call as well. I like trying to get a little bit of Marcus Semien against Kirby. I think that's a good option too today. If you want to run like a Texas mini stack out there, I would include him in that one for sure. And then just another guy that I'm looking at, obviously with Toronto, is Santiago Espinal down here. And that's batting in the seventh hole. That's not going to get really looked at. And as we talk about constantly, like playing the back half of these lineups can offer you a lot of upside and offer a lot of value in tournaments. And I think that you can do that today, especially with teams like Toronto and Houston.
Yeah, Toronto, and I was kind of surprised when I was looking through the numbers. Espinal has very good splits against left-handed pitching this year. Granted, he's sitting down in the lineup, but he's been a really pleasant surprise for Toronto. So even hitting seventh at low ownership, I think that's a really interesting tournament call today because this position is relatively weak. You don't get quite as much pop at second base as you do at some other positions. And I mean, anytime Brandon Drury is the chalkiest option, this is a spot where maybe you can differentiate a little bit and get some of those lower owned plays. So like the Espinal call, Semien, of course, fine as well as a one-off play. Brendan Rodgers is hitting cleanup for Colorado today. I think that's interesting, even though, most people won't be as high on the Colorado side of that game, especially given that lineup. It's not like Charlie Morton has blown people away this year. So I think Rodgers is certainly in play as well. All right, let's go ahead and move over to third base, where ownership may be concentrated a little bit more with Jose Ramirez and Austin Riley grabbing a good chunk of the ownership there. But where are you looking at third?
Yeah, like this position is like Alex Bregman. I like, especially with his ownership coming in at like 6%. So he's someone I'm going to be well over the weight on the field than most of these other guys here. Especially because he pretty much gives him a lot of hard contact and power to right-handed bats. So a guy like Bregman, Altuve, those guys can have a chance to hit a lot of home runs, hit a home run or two today off of him. Obviously, along with the lefties who are really good today. When we get to the outfield, I'll get to those. But Manny Machado, someone I like to a little bit against Lauer, low ownership. Obviously Jose Ramirez is obviously one of the best plays to be on the slate. I like Brian Hayes a little bit against Gallen, don't mind it. And Evan Longoria, if you want to run like a little San Francisco mini stack, because no one's really talking about them today a lot, but they can definitely have a good game against Garrett too. So I don't mind that too as well. And obviously a guy like if you want to get like a part of your Baltimore sacks, Ramon Urias today is someone else I don't mind taking shots on.
All right. TJ is joining us in the YouTube chat with his potential for the Spidey Bomb call, and he'll drop the Spidey Bomb call in the chat today if we get to 60 thumbs up on the YouTube video. We're at 38 right now. So if you're watching, please hit the like button, subscribe to the RotoGrinders channel. We appreciate that very much, and helps us with the old YouTube algorithm. So appreciate if you hit the thumbs up if you are watching and wanting to make some money today. We'll get to your questions here in just a few minutes. Before we get to lock, we've got 13 minutes left until lineup lock at 1:35 Eastern. So we'll get through the last couple of positions here, shortstop and outfield, and then we will take your questions. Love the Bregman call today. Heasley has given up. He's walked more guys than he's struck out this year. He's just awful. And again, Houston probably isn't going to get shut out 2 days in a row. So Bregman, I think, is my favorite play at the position outside of the two most popular guys, Ramirez and Riley, but Bregman also saves you a little bit, saves you 900 on Fanduel, saves you 700 on over Riley, 900 on Ramirez, 700 over Riley on Fanduel. So like the Bregman call today. All right, let's move to short. I think this is interesting, an interesting position. Dubon is the chalk on Fanduel because he's 2,200, because you can play him in the outfield as well. A lot of people are going to be asking about, whether you need to include him in your Houston stacks, or maybe you go with a lower owned guy that's a little bit more expensive. So Dubon, the newly acquired guy for the Astros, is an interesting case today. Of course, you got Dansby Swanson here. You've got Bo Bichette. You've got Rosario. You've got Corey Seager without much ownership today. So where are you looking at shortstop?
Pretty much all those guys that you name is the guys that I'll be looking to play a lot of. Pena as well is someone else I'm going to be looking at to get to, especially at the low ownership of 1%. These Houston guys and the back half of the lineup too, like I mentioned before, so I'm really, really, really interested today. And then Pena's a guy I think has a chance to hit a home run out the park today. I think a lot of these Houston guys have a chance to hit a home run out the park today against this pitcher who's been just really bad and is awful. So is Dubon, who's going to be, like I said, the highest owned, 2,200s, and it's too cheap to pass up on him too as well. But other than that, that's really it. There's no one else I'm looking at to get to, unless you want to get to like a Jorge Mateo in your Baltimore stacks, but I'm a little bit high on it, but not too high on that play today. Other than that's really it.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add at shortstop. I think you stay with some of those strong plays. The pivot to Pena, and that was actually a question that we had in the chat. I do like that. He's 1,100 more than Dubon on FanDuel, but 21% versus 1%. You can see our projections have them almost identical. So I love the pivot to Pena over Dubon in a Houston stack if you're looking to differentiate that a little bit. All right, let's close out with Outfield, and then we'll get to questions.
Outfield. Okay, so my number one play on the day is Yordan Alvarez. He's going to hit a home run today. He's just not highly owned enough for the matchup and what it presents. So to me, just get Yordan, Kyle Tucker, any of these guys in the outfield that you want to get. I like that today for sure. But other guys I look at, I like George Springer a lot today. Coming at low ownership. Teoscar Hernandez, another guy from Toronto I like to get to. I even don't mind, I know I haven't been playing them lately, but these Angels like Mike Trout, I don't mind him today as a one-off. Maybe if you want to run a mini stack against Gibson, maybe see if we could have some luck against him. I don't mind that at all today, but I definitely would take some shots on him. I like Juan Soto a lot today. I think he's another candidate to hit a home run today. I like getting into obviously the Atlanta Braves bats. Don't even need to really mention them because they're going to be popular today, like Acuna and those other guys. Another one that we haven't really touched, another guy who I think is not going to get any ownership today that I think is good is Jorge Soler. I think he's batting third in that Miami lineup against Junis. I think he has a chance to put up a good score today. Use him as a one-off, if anything, today, in my opinion.
Yeah, a guy that now that he's 6,100 on DraftKings. It's just crazy how much his salary is shot up. So not a lot of ownership on Soler at all. Now that his salary is that high, I had to look real quick. And so I had said, I shortchanged him. I had said 8 or 9 losses in a row for the Angels. It's 10. They've lost 10 in a row. So certainly a spot where they're going to want to try to right that ship. They're now 7.5 games behind Houston, which is the Astros kind of becoming a runaway train there in the ALS. But 10-game losing streak for the Angels. That team is too talented to be losing more than 10 in a row. So we'll see if some of their bats, they're not getting any ownership today. You haven't seen 2% ownership on Mike Trout in a long time. Ohtani, 7% ownership. You mentioned Walsh at first base, 2% ownership. So these are guys that eventually they're going to hit. They're going to hit again. So if you can peg that day correctly, it'll be a big one for you. All right, let's get to some questions. Amateur. I'm not sure whether it's amateur hour or amateur home run. We'll go with amateur hour because that makes sense as an acronym. But he's talking high dollar GPPs today, going with a Houston stack and favorite catcher on DraftKings at 4,000 or less, playing some Baltimore and trying to decide between Rutschman versus a Chalky or Stevenson or some other catcher under 4K. Rutschman, was a highly touted prospect, big name there for the Orioles. I think eventually he gets it going. Matchup against Plesac today could be the spot. So I don't mind playing Rutschman today. And I believe you mentioned him at catcher as well.
Yeah, I did mention Rutschman at catcher today. He's someone I definitely like too. 4K, I would definitely play him today if you can with that Houston stack. Houston is my favorite team by far today on the slate. I'm not even looking back when it comes to that.
All right, 4 likes in the way for home run calls, 4 likes away from some home run calls in the chat. So drop that thumbs up in the YouTube chat if you want some home run calls. I agree on rolling the dice on some Rutschman today. All right, DraftKings GPP. Do you mind the lefty-lefty matchup for Harper and Schwarber in a full stack or one-offs against Sandoval? I don't mind them in lefty-lefty matchups. I'm not full stacking the Phillies today. Sandoval doesn't get blown up a whole lot, but I do like those power lefty bats as really low-owned one-off plays. So Harper and Schwarber, I think they're best used as one-offs today. We talked about going to Pena instead of Chalky Dubon for reduced ownership in the Houston stack. So Steve-O, I like that as well. We agree with potentially going up to Pena. All right, BHB with a DK cash question. I'll throw this one over to you. Vlad and Bregman or Votto and Jose Ramirez? Which two do you prefer?
I'm going to say those are both not bad choices. Those are excellent choices. It's like splitting hairs. I'm gonna say Vlad and Bregman though.
Yeah, I go with Vlad and Bregman as well. I think that's a better combo, higher, a little bit higher floor for your cash games today, I think as well. All right, JMVP with a question. Does mini stacking the Reds, is that something to avoid since they will be chalky in a DraftKings single entry? Single entry today, you're using the Reds or you're using somebody like Houston?
I would use Houston today. Because like I said, I'm gonna get different with the back half of the lineup of Houston, even though I expect Houston to come in as probably the second popular. We got right now projected as the second most popular team on the slate. So I'll just use Houston instead of the Reds. Because the pitcher again for Kansas City is he's just so bad. Like he gives them just a lot of hard contact to both sides of the play. He's walking batters at 18%. That's like to me that's just too high. He shouldn't be pitching in, and like Corbin at least has some strikeout ability, even though he's looking like a shell of himself and how he used to be back in the day. I'm just gonna roll with Houston.
All right. And I'm trying to answer some of the YouTube questions just to get those questions answered as we go through. The questions we're reading off are from the RotoGrinders MLB Crunch Time chat. You can check that out in our RotoGrinders Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. You can get in the MLB Crunch Time channel there. All right. DKGPP, despite the high ownership for both, do you like the Gausman Giolito double ace pairing? I do. If you've got enough cheaper bats, I think in a GPP, Gausman and Giolito are the two pitchers that provide you with that ceiling today. All right. Amateur Hour is back with a 3v3 with Houston and Baltimore stacks. Maldonado, Urias, and Pena is option 1. Rutschman, Bregman, Dubon is option 2. I would go with the Rutschman, Bregman, Dubon. I think based on what both of us have said during the show, we like that combo better. All right, Sherman's Tanks question for you. I'll throw this one your way. Altuve and Varsho or Jose Ramirez and Aquino?
I'm gonna say the first one with Altuve and Varsho.
I would agree. Jay Sam's also asking if there's pinch hit risk with some of those Cincinnati bats. I do think potentially with Aquino late in the game. Stevenson, they haven't really shown a ton of pinch hit risk with him. I think if he starts, he'll be in there. So Aquino would be the one with a little more pinch hit risk. All right, BHB asking DK Cash, Altuve or Drury. You just answered that one in the chat with Altuve. I would agree there. Drury's ownership really high today. Maybe not as much on DraftKings, but he's really expensive over there. DraftKings has bumped most of the Reds prices for that Corbin matchup. All right, another 3v3 here from SP Cohen. Kirk, Gurriel, and Jose Ramirez or Stevenson, Vlad, and Bregman?
That's tough. I'm gonna have to say that's really splitting hairs for me today because I like both of them a lot. I'm gonna say probably this. I'm probably gonna have to say the first one only because I know Kirk is gonna be lesser owned, and so should Jose Ramirez. If this is GPP, go with the first one. If it's a more cash game, then go with the second one. That's how I phrase it.
All right, got a couple more questions here in the YouTube chat. Nick is asking about a potential White Sox stack. So not a team that we have discussed all that much, and this is an offense that has underperformed all year. They're facing Yarbrough, so a decent pitcher doesn't get blown up a lot. You're getting super low ownership on the White Sox, a team that I just have trouble getting a read on. But guys like Robert and Abreu, I mean, they profile well against lefties. Any interest in the White Sox today?
Not really. I just can't play them today at all. Not saying I'm going to be looking to get to.
Yeah, I don't mind like Robert and Abreu as one-offs, but the full stack, Yarbrough doesn't get blown up a ton. So pretty low on my list of full stacks today. Pistol Pete asking about Arizona-Cincinnati combo stacks. I don't think that's a horrible option. Arizona, a sneaky high team total for Arizona standards today. Guys like Peralta and Marte and Rojas, and obviously Varsho, who's going to be the chalkiest of the group, do profile well against kind of a bad right-handed pitcher. So I don't mind maybe 3 or 4 Arizona bats as a contrarian mini stack to, complement that Cincinnati stack a little bit. All right, we are about 10 seconds here from lock. So by the time this information reaches the people, we will be at lock. We've gotten through all the questions in the YouTube chat and the Crunch Time chat. No late scratches or anything that I can see, so we should be good to go. No real weather concerns today either, so it's getting warmer in a lot of places. Should continue to see a lot of offense, so should be a great day for sports. NASCAR this afternoon, NBA finals tonight, baseball right now. We've got you covered over at RotoGrinders.com. Andre, anything else you want to pass along before we call it a day?
No, that's really it. I think that, good luck to guys. I would say get ahead of Houston, play the back half of those lineups if you can. I really like taking advantage of that pitcher today. And don't play that much. Play some course. Don't play that much course. And yeah, that's really it.
All right. With that, it was a great show. Thanks for hanging out with us and watching along and giving us a thumbs up along the way on YouTube. And we'll call it a Sunday for you. So we'll be back tomorrow with the start of a new work week. And until then, have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. For Andre and for Eli producing behind the scenes, doing a great job for us, I am Justin, and we will catch you later, everybody. Have a great one.